Over the past few months, we have been going to Action every now and then, and we've been buying some art supplies.
Action has a lot of very cheap stuff that seems kind of very cheap at the first glance. On the second glance, however, they also have like a lot of nice things. You know, normally art stuff can get very costly, especially if you go for the brand names, which have a price for a reason. But I'm a believer in getting things that are less pricey if they do similar things and you do not necessarily need the big quality. And this is what Action generally seems to give here. And that's why we are making this video, to show this off a little.
Yes, some of the products you see in front of you may or may not still be available because, as I mentioned previously, it's been a few months that we've been collecting all of this. To my understanding, there are branches of Action in different European countries.
Yes, I believe the company actually is from the Netherlands. I may be very wrong. I've seen Action shops in France. I know there is some in the UK. And we're here in Germany, where we also now have quite a selection of shops around here.
And as we've noticed, they sell a lot of interesting art products. And when you're an artist on a budget, a very limited budget, everything you see in front of you maybe came to about 30 euro, 30, 40 euro, give or take.
Something like this. I think the most expensive things that we bought were those two huge packages you see
Yeah.
here in the corners.
Yeah.
And the rest is rather on the cheap side,
Yeah.
without meaning this negative.
Yeah, not meaning it negative. So, over the past few months, we also had these alcohol markers that we got at TD, and these are alcohol markers that we got at Woolworth. These are, they have a fine tip and a chisel tip on them. These have been working really well. And I see that this pack over here, for example, made by DecoTime, this apparently has a brush tip as well as a fine tip, and it also comes in a stackable storage tray, which looks to be very interesting.
Indeed, which I think not by coincidence reminds of the products of the company Copic, which also has like nice trays where you can put your pens in, which, just as the pens are usually very expensive, while these just come in the box.
Yes. So you get a nice selection of colors. I think this cost around maybe 20 euro when we bought it last
I think
year.
so, yes.
Yeah, they're all nicely packed. They're in the tray. I'm not going to tip it out. I will insert a shot with everything assembled over here. As you can see, it fits all nicely together. Here we have, I just took out one of the markers and we can see it is nicely marked. Brush on one side, fine on the other. That's the brush side, and that's the fine side. In comparison, for example, the ones that we got at TD a while back, which are reduced, by the way, the TD ones. They were 20 euro for 60 markers, now they're going for 10. These are office line, and you can see in comparison to the Twinmarker ones, for example, you can barely read which is the chisel tip and which is the fine tip on these office line.
No, I need glasses anyway, and I surely cannot.
Yeah, no, I can't, and I wear glasses. But no, that's the fine, and that is the chisel tip there.
And I believe the reason these are marked down now is because they are changing the production in general to the ones like we see them here, with the brush tip on it. Since this seems to be the way that also the Copic markers come, and is generally preferred by a lot of people. Some people like chisel tips, but I think a lot of people like the versatility that a brush tip has.
I think so too. I haven't used brush tips that much, so I don't have that much experience. I've only used chisel tips over the past few years, so I'm excited to try those in a separate video. We also have these here. These are also alcohol marker sets that they're selling at Action. When we bought these last year, I think these were normally being sold for, I think, €2.
€2 or so.
And that particular day they were going for €1. So
yes.
€1 for 4 markers. This package didn't survive. It's actually common to see on the shelves that these packages have split open.
Yes, it's also very common if you go into the shop to take a look for these things that they are often not there because a lot of people have discovered them for themselves.
Yes.
A lot of people who, especially in these times, do not seem to have like an unlimited supply of money to spend out. And so, yeah, you need to be a little lucky. In our case, we were, and we actually got a nice range of these.
Yes. So I'm not pictured here because I already opened that one. I had a pack with different shades of green. For example, this one is like shades of sort of blue to lilac-y purple.
Yes.
These are blacks, greys, and a colourless blender we actually have in this one there.
Interesting.
Here we have pinks and then we have blues, but there was also greens, and this one was the browns and oranges.
Yes. And why these are so handy, sometimes you just want to color something quickly and you need colors that match each other, complementary, and that's what these little packages just have, because you probably do not need more than 4 at the same time, and this is what these are.
Yes.
So, these were alcohol markers. These are, if the camera would focus, these are aqua markers. You might know those little aqua pencils, which are basically color pencils, and you can just like take a brush with water and paint them like a little over the paper, and they blend nicely into each other. This is the same principle, just that this is basically like a marker. It tends, however, not to work on all papers like advertised. We do have a special paper also bought in Action where these work very nice on, but another paper which was marked specifically for these, it doesn't really work. Which is this? Which
brings us to this. This is a 2-in-1 made by DecoTime twin sketchbook, as I call it, 2 covers and 2 types of paper. In the front they have alcohol markers,
which is a special paper because the texture and the thickness is very much geared towards the alcohol markers because they bleed through heavily.
Yes. Then on the back we have the aqua marker side.
And as I said, the theory is you just like use these as normal markers and then you take like a little brush with water and paint them into each other, which seems to work only on certain papers. We tried this paper here, it doesn't really work that much. Maybe we're doing something wrong, I'm not sure. It works better on other papers, however, which we are showing you now, which are these. And while these are not specifically marked as compatible with those, it works like a charm.
Yes. This is watercolor paper made by a creative artist. It's actually a very thick paper.
Very thick. It seems to work better on thicker papers than on thinner ones.
Yes, the aqua markers worked really well in there. We don't have an example right now, but we'll make a separate video.
Yes.
In usage of these. There was also a black watercolor paper which we will cover in a separate video.
Exactly. So those are those things. Which leads us to these.
Okay, this we bought sometime last year, also by a creative artist. This is a canvas paper. We haven't tried it out yet. So basically it is like a paper, but it's basically canvas.
It's very canvassy. Imagine a very rough old linen sheet, which maybe your grandparents put on their bed, but it's like more rigid. You see here, It's basically like a sheet of paper, but made from fabric. It's a very weird sensation. You have to really check this out for yourself to see where I'm going with this. I have no idea.
Which brings us to this, which we actually bought yesterday. It's also by a creative artist, and it's an acrylic paint set, 20 pieces. It was about €3 or so.
€3, yes, approximately.
And I was just drawn to the fact that it's paints coming in a wooden box.
And it is indeed a wooden box. Normally they tend to like put wood varnish on like some kind of plastic thing, but
yeah, it is literally wood. So I'm going to open it right here.
very satisfying process.
Oh, please don't tell me they glued this on there. Oh no.
And there you have a nice little wooden box.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, for €3.
For the price, this is actually very nice.
And that's what you get inside.
Ooh, okay. We are now opening this for the first time, so we are not sure ourselves what's in here. So we do have, obviously, the main star of this. Those are acrylic paints. I would imagine this is the same kind of quality which you generally get in discounters or in those kits you sometimes also see at supermarkets around Christmas time when they are selling stuff like this. And you also have like other things, like those brushes, which seem to be actually very nice.
They do seem to be very nice. I'm going to get one out there right now. It's not the usual affair where you get those plastic ones.
I hate these. I must just say it. I hate these. They normally give in these school grade watercolor kits. They're just not very nice. But these seem.
Oh, this one is actually very soft. Okay, now I look forward to trying this in a separate video. They'll also give you an HB pencil, a sharpener, an eraser, and a little tray for you to mix your colors in.
And it even seems to be a plastic eraser, which is also not normal in these kits. Normally they give you like one of these cheap school erasers, which just do nothing good other than smearing your pencil all over your page. But those are actually very nice. I'm very glad that they have discovered these and they are now including those also in like very cheap kits like these.
It's a very, very stunning little box. This was also bought last year at Action. It's a little watercolor set. This has been used. I'll just put it back in its box just to show you how it was packaged. I think when they were selling these, I think it was like €1.50 or something.
It was very cheap.
It was very cheap, so I just put it back in the box so you can see how it was packaged.
We did not have big expectations on this one particular, but it seemed to exceed what we thought it would be like, because it's actually very nice.
It is actually very nice. I actually do have a sample that I did paint with those.
While you are looking, we do have to mention it. Of course, this is nowhere near a professional watercolor set you get from companies like Schminke or the likes, which costs you €20 or more. But you see the outcome. This is fine for studies. This is fine if you do not need the professional quality.
Yeah, for a quick study, I say that's actually really good.
Not sure how it is with the longevity of this, how light fast these colors are if you actually hang them somewhere. But generally, if you want something that hangs against the wall, you should maybe rather spend a bit more than this. But for, I don't know, just like living out your creativity and studying, I think this is fine.
I think so too, because then you can learn about color theory without breaking the bank as well.
Exactly.
They were also selling these at Action last year. Basically, it's just like a little sketchbook. It's not, this is what you call perfect bound, so it's not, eventually it's going to split. So you get a section of, it's actually decent paper. It's a little bit on the thin side, but it's not that thin. Got a couple of plain white sheets. Then you actually have craft paper, which I really do enjoy sketching on this. And then they actually give you some black paper.
Ooh. This is nice. Especially, I can't recall really for what they went in the shop back then, because it has been a while, but it can't have been very much. I think it was like around 152 euro or something like this.
It was something like that.
Which, for something like this, is really cheap.
Yes. We also bought this yesterday. It's also by DecoTime. It's a sketch colouring book. 24 sheets. It's actually 12 pictures because they actually repeat them twice throughout the book. So you got that there. This is when it starts over. That's in the middle. And then if we go back to the beginning. So basically if you mess up one, you have another.
Yes. Also, if you mess up general, you didn't really spend out a lot of money on an expensive coloring book, and you are afraid to maybe make mistakes, etc. Here you can just like test it out, experiment, and if it's not working well, then try again.
Yes. They recommend to use the aqua markers, which we will be doing in a separate video.
Oh, we need to test that out.
Aquarelle pencils and aquarelle paint. So we actually bought a set of pencils, which is this here. This is, they had several sets, again, basically like how they packaged their Twinmarkers. This is basically a set of like yellows, reds, and like slightly orangey shades.
Browns.
Browns, which I thought would actually work really well on the fox image here.
Yes, I also imagine this very nice for autumn-themed pictures, etc.
Yes. So this also hasn't been opened, so there will be a jump cut here.
We're breaking the seal.
The seal has been removed.
And what a seal it was.
And here's the pencils.
They look, I mean, obviously the colors look nice. When I look at the tips now,
Okay, this I'm not so sure about DecoTime's pencils. This will have to be done in a separate video. I'm a little bit skeptical because to me...
the lead comes out a little much of the wood, does it?
Yeah, and also, normally when I feel a pencil that feels like this, I just vision this lead. Never, I know I call it lead, I know it's incorrect. But I can just tell that it's probably going to be one of those that where you sharpen, it's just going to keep crumbling.
And it's focusing. Jump cut. So yeah, here you can see this thing from up close. It's triangular, which in itself is not a bad thing. But I imagine this breaking quickly. We will just have to try it out and then we can tell you if it does or if it exceeds again our expectations. And it's actually very nice. We just have to see.
Okay, I think this is the last item we have here. Again, because I was so impressed with this little set, I see Creative Artist has a bigger set. This one has 36 colors, 1 HB pencil, 1 water brush, and 1 filament brush. One thing, we did take the plastic off this yesterday, and one thing I want to point out is that this tin is actually very, very sharp.
Yes. If you are planning or if you are getting these and you are planning to give them to your children, be aware that this has some sharp edges.
Yeah, this definitely is very sharp here. Also, disappointingly, this tin does not close.
Yes, normally you would expect at least some kind of little dent protruding so that it actually provides some kind of friction so that it closes. This one doesn't, it just goes over each other. So,
no, it's not like this one here where it does have a little indent, and
yes.
as you heard, it's snapped closed now, so it's not going to open.
But then, what was the price of this?
Oh, I can't remember. I think it was under €3.
It was under €3, so we are complaining here, but this is a very cheap thing, we have to say it.
My concern, more than this not closing, I mean, that's just normal criticism, but my concern is the fact that this is sharp on the sides.
Yes.
But anyway, this is the inside. They actually give you a nice variety of colors. They give you an okay brush. It's not that rubbish one that we mentioned with the horrible
No.
plastic black bristles, and actually give one of these.
Yes. Which, as you may have already recognized, is a water brush pen.
Which I...
Yeah, it's very rigid.
And as you can see, that is the point. I'm not sure how you open this one to actually get the water inside.
I would imagine.
Looks like it screws off, but it doesn't want to budge.
Well, there is a screw here.
Jump cut.
Got it. So you need a little force to actually undo those two parts because, again, cheapo, but it's possible. And yeah, you just fill this end with water, then you just like screw this back on if you can.
It's a little bit dodgy.
It's a bit dodgy. Okay. I've had cheap brushes like this. I'm twisting this the wrong direction. This is a bit counterintuitive, but I had several cheap brushes which I once bought in the sale on in the shop Lidl. Those were better.
Yeah.
But again, they didn't come with a whole set of watercolors.
Yeah. Well, we'll put this to a test in a separate video.
So, what is our word of the day to all this?
Word of the day. Well, I've only tried a few of the items that you see here. I can vouch that these little paints are definitely worth it if you're just starting out with watercolor and you just want something that's just very small and simple that you can take with you. I think it's adequate, and the colors are actually very vibrant.
Yes, I especially like the markers. Also these, even those are a little difficult to use if you have the wrong paper, respectively you're not sure what you're looking for. But when they do, they actually work also nice. The paper, you can never have enough paper. And yeah, I mean, it's not the most durable stuff which we get here, but it's stuff you can just use to experiment, study, make yourself a little better, and then you can just go for more expensive things and you are not afraid to destroy them in the process.
Yes. I feel it's important when you're on a budget like this to look for things that are cheap, that are decent quality, that you can at least get the practice in before you step up. Like, I wouldn't go out and buy a bunch of Copic markers, for example, without properly knowing how to blend and what colours work well together, etc. I'd rather practice with these, and then when I feel more confident, then I'll see about Copic.
Yes, and I mean, I say it again because it is true. You have to say it, the cheap ones will never have the complete quality of the expensive brand products like Copic. But just for starting out and just for doing this as a hobby, and maybe you're even happy with what you're doing, we sure are, those are perfect.
So stay tuned for future videos where we try out the things that you see in this video.
Exactly. So I would say we end this here until this gets too long, and we say have a nice day. Bye bye.
See you again.